Hey guys, I'm Rand Younger, and this is another episode of Under the Radar, where we talk all things film. And tonight I have with me a wonderful panel of guest critics. We have Mr. Rob Harris. It's been a while.
Oh, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me, Randy.
Yeah, of course. Welcome back, sir. Eric Godfrey, good to have you again. Second week in a row.
Thank you for having me.
And this guy, Matt Roren, who I sort of know, he kind of comes, on episodes every now and then.
Randomly shifts into your screen.
A regular fixture at Under the Radar, so welcome you, Mr. Roren.
Good to be here as always.
Yes. So I just want to start off with Rob, since it's been a while. About a year or a little less than a year?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been pre-pandemic, so it's been far too long. Yeah.
What are you watching these days? What are your pandemic picks?
Actually, I just watched Hard Times. Let's see, I think it's a Charles Bronson film with James Coburn from, I think, the 70s.
Cool.
I absolutely love the movie, and I shared it with my girlfriend Jen's grandfather, and he really liked it a lot. So I mean, I stick to like a lot of older things. Yeah.
Cool.
I watched Howard the Duck over the summer. Just had to share it, with everybody. It's like just a great piece of nostalgia for me, even though it's not the greatest movie, but
a fun one for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I first saw that in high school. It was like a Friday night. It was on TBS at like 1 a.m. and I can't think of a better time. So yeah, Howard the Duck all the way. It's a great film.
Yeah.
Cool. Eric, even though it's been only a week, what have you been watching?
I'm afraid to say I'm still part of the cult of Ted Lasso. It's
Okay.
kind of the new comfort food. It's like one season, but I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
And now I'm just also looking forward to seeing a big giant monkey punch a big giant lizard repeatedly.
Yeah, we all are.
It's Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely have to revisit King of the Monsters, the previous entry, to get caught up. But yeah, that's probably we're going to review that possibly next week. So yeah, everyone stay tuned for that. So I'd have to say, so far, the one that really stuck out for me was Kong Skull Island. I think that was my favorite.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, the Godzilla that, in the timeline, Godzilla comes after Kong. The one with Bryan Cranston, it kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, no, I think the first part with Cranston's great. Then the middle part, you're just like, oh, come on. But then it delivers a really great final battle between the Mutos and Godzilla. I think that's why people enjoyed it, because even though it takes a while to get there, it does have a fantastic finale.
I'll have to revisit that, definitely.
Just fast forward through all the stuff in Hawaii.
It sucks too, because I love Cranston. He's such a good actor.
Which is why why didn't you keep him around?
Yeah.
At least the sequel made it smart and kept Kyle Chandler around for the whole time.
Yeah, and they're like, well, it's not about the people, it's not about the characters, it's about the monkey and the lizard,
Which, I mean, even the classic ones.
It's like you could still have them in there.
Yeah, but I mean, even the classic ones, you need a good person to sell the science, being like, well, the science proves that Mothra is the only thing that can beat Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
It's science.
Well, I did think that Matthew Broderick was pretty decent in the 1998 version. That movie gets a lot of hate, but it's a fun ride. Great visual effects for the time for 98.
That's true.
But Matt, what are you watching this week? I know you're still doing the Disney Quest.
Oh yeah, I've been kicking through Disney TV shows. They're the big heyday of when Disney Studios started doing TV shows for all the major networks. So I finished 30 something. I finished The Nut House, which was co-created by Mel Brooks.
Okay.
Oh.
It was a 11 episode season about a hotel. And it was all right. It had some really good jokes in it, but overall it was just okay. But it was Harvey Korman and what's her face? She just died this year, and she's awesome.
Oh, Leachman, Cloris Leachman.
Cloris Leachman. I mean, it's always great watching the two of them anyway. But just finished those, and the show Heartland. That was a sitcom about farmers. Buzz from Home Alone was one of the children.
That's awesome.
And it's like a country living. And the lead actor from that was also on 30 something. And then I just started. I watched the Uncle Buck sitcom with Kevin.
How was
Meaney.
that with Kevin Meaney?
Yeah, that was okay. I mean, Kevin Meaney's great, but he's definitely no John Candy. And that's like the sad thing is you watch it and you're just like, if this wasn't a John Candy character, this might be better. But it's like you just can't compare. Like Candy was a legend.
Yeah.
And one of the episodes has what is the last on-screen appearance of Art Carney.
Ooh, wow.
And Audrey Meadows, also from The Honeymooners, plays the grandma on that show. So it was his last on-screen appearance was with her. So that's pretty interesting.
Nice.
And little Honeymooners reunion. And so now I just started Blossom season 1. So
classic.
Yeah.
Early 90s. I have fond memories watching it as a kid.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've been watching, Golden Girls and Empty Nest. Also, and Mayim Bialik was in a bunch of episodes of Empty Nest as one of the patients of, the main characters. Dr. Richard Mulligan is a pediatrician. So she was like one of his reoccurring like patients.
Wasn't she like 12 years old or something?
Yeah. So it's like, oh, this is probably where they were like, we need to give her a show.
Is Empty Nest a spinoff of another show?
Golden Girls, yes.
Golden Girls, okay.
Yes.
Who was Mulligan like dating one of them? Or?
Well, actually, it's funny. They did a backdoor pilot for Empty Nest, but it was a show with Rita Moreno that like they did a backdoor pilot and it was not good.
Okay.
The only character that stayed between the backdoor pilot and then the show, which I think the actual show Empty Nest started 2 years afterwards, after the backdoor pilot failed. They retooled it, and Charlie, the neighbor, was the only person they kept. It was like a whole new family, and it was like Richard Mulligan, and so it's interesting, but it kind of spun off that way, where it wasn't immediately a spinoff, but then like every character, they lived next door to the Golden Girls.
Okay. So
every character would show up on the show and vice versa. Then he would show up on their show.
Gotcha. Wow.
And in after Golden Girls ended, and they started a show called Golden Palace, which was all the Golden Girls except for B. Arthur.
She wanted too much money.
Yeah, or she just wanted to walk away from it. But she's on one episode of Golden Palace. But after they canceled that after one season, Sophia became a cast member on Empty Nest for the last 2 seasons.
Strange.
Like apparently she goes back to the retirement home and then like is now like always hanging out with them.
This conversation, it just makes me want to watch Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Yeah. It is a classic.
I love it. Howard the Duck followed by Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Double feature, guys. Let's do it.
I'm getting some good ones here.
Yeah. But as for me, in preparation for 2 shows that are out now, we've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I've been basically going through all 3 Captain America films just to kind of refresh my memory. And also for Mighty Ducks Game Changers, I basically binge watched all 3 movies and the first 2 episodes of the animated series, which has nothing to do with the movies at all. But
is that the one with the alien ducks who like shoot the pucks out of
like their gauntlet?
Okay, I remember that cartoon.
It's not the greatest, but I have kind of fond memories about it. It's pretty nostalgic for me. It's really just Ninja Turtles
Yes.
as ducks instead.
I feel like everything was trying to like mimic that format, like in the 90s with cartoons, like Biker Mice from Mars and stuff.
I was about to say Biker Mice from Mars. I was like, well, there was some weird stuff that came out of that time.
Street Sharks and
Yes,
stuff.
thank you. Road Rovers and SWAT Cats.
I loved SWAT Cats.
Yeah.
All the weird doors that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles open the door for.
And I think Thundercats opened the door for Ninja Turtles in a way for TV cartoons.
That sounds about right, because Thundercats would have been before that.
Yeah, that was like mid 80s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, guys. But yeah, very busy with the viewings right now.
Well, I'm going to say, if this last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier shows anything, I'm going to recommend that everybody start to catch up or read the Young Avengers, because I think the writing's on the wall.
They brought Eli in now. I was like, so we got Patriot. I'm like,
it's like we're too shy from the full Young Avengers. So it's like everybody, I think
it's like, oh yeah, Hulkling's coming soon.
We're this close to just the full on. We're doing Young Avengers.
I know, I love it. So excited.
That was an animated series, right? Or
it was a comic book. It was written by I can't remember his name, but he was a writer on Lost. It was a fantastic book.
Yeah.
I highly just the book alone, without all this stuff, I highly recommend.
You're thinking of no, The Runaways was written by.
Yeah, sorry. Who wrote Young Avengers?
Young Avengers was written by one of the producers of The OC and Gossip Girl.
That's right.
Okay. Now, do you guys recommend?
Fantastic, nonetheless.
Do you guys recommend reading the Young Avengers comic before you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I mean, yeah, because at the moment they're not really related, but it's the thing of a lot of like from Wiccan, Speed, Eli, even with Kate Bishop now, who's going to be a major part of the Hawkeye series. Like Cassie Lang, all of them, like it's just a great comic all by itself, but it's like they're clearly setting these characters up.
Well, they just announced. I feel like instead of doing Iron Lad, I have a feeling because they just announced casting for Ironheart.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling they're gonna end up replacing Iron Lad with Ironheart.
And I could see Miss Marvel. I could see Kamala maybe joining the team in a way too. If you were going full Young Avengers, I could see her being. But this is all speculation.
Yeah.
Who knows where we're going? But just seeing Eli was like, yes.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yes.
Hopefully that's not a spoiler.
That shouldn't be.
Okay, no. Fine. Rob, I forget, are you a Marvel guy or DC? Or I know you're a Terminator buff.
Oh yeah. I actually have some Terminator news.
Spill it.
Yeah, there's this Kickstarter project that I stumbled across through a Terminator fan website. That's just the terminatorfans.com, whatever. So I think it's called Nightfall Games. They're making, it's kind of like a tabletop RPG, like I'm picturing like Dungeons and Dragons like type of thing, where you kind of create scenarios and they have like different campaigns and different characters. But they also say that like the core book is like a source book for the first movie. So it's just really, really exciting. I've been following it like since I learned about it. So
is it more like a D&D or a tabletop?
Yeah, it's like a tabletop game. Like they're, having like dice and everything like that we're going to add on with, if you back the project, whatever. But super excited about it. Yeah.
Does it take place in the future or?
You can actually like go back between them. And there's multiple scenarios. Like, I mean, you can play as like Sarah Connor as like a character, Kyle Reese. I think you can play as Terminators too. So very exciting. Anyway.
It sounds cool.
Yeah. But I mean, to answer your question, I do like Marvel. I like DC. Like, grew up watching like the Batman movies in the 90s and stuff like that. Huge fan. But I'm really like out of the loop, like with a lot of Marvel stuff. I just feel like there's so much out there, and like I don't know where to start. But
yeah.
I mean,
that's the one hard part with Marvel, is that it's so comprehensive, where all the storylines intermingle, that you need direct jump on points.
Yep.
And it's like I luckily when I got back in the comics, because I I grew up with comics, at a young age. I stopped reading it in the 90s when everything became like Rob Liefeld. When it was just like about big muscles, big guns, and people only cared about artwork and didn't give a fuck about storyline.
Yep.
I gave up. And then after, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man came out, I was like, oh, this like rekindles that flame in me. And I saw an issue of Brubaker's Daredevil in a bookstore. I was at I was actually in Boston at Newberry Comics, and saw the issue where it's got like the newspaper with Daredevil like drawn on top of Matt Murdock, and it's like, I'm like, oh my god, is he finally outed? And I bought that issue and it got me hooked. And like right about then was when Avengers Disassembled happened, and it was like the perfect jumping on point, because it was like that led right into House M, led right into Civil War, Secret Invasion, and it was like I read all of it through Siege, and Siege was like where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take a break, but it was like a decade of reading every single thing Marvel put out, and it was a fantastic ride.
It was. I know exactly what run you're talking about, and that was a great one.
It was like the best 10 years like in comics. It was so good.
That's basically when Bendis was running Marvel.
Yeah, when he don't, and then he started when they rebooted everything, and I was just like, all right, well, good, I'm done with this for now. I'll eventually read other stuff, but that's another crazy thing I've been doing. How I watch all this TV is I've been reading all Marvel stuff from the Fantastic Four, like basically the big boom of the superheroes Marvel timeline, and I'm up to 1971 now. I've read pretty much every issue of everything they put out up to 1971. Like right now, I just finished the Spider-Man stuff with the death of Captain Stacy, so I'm almost at Gwen Stacy's death.
Wow.
Then it's like on to an Iron Man storyline right there. So
Matt, are you a speed reader at all, or
I'm getting faster. I've been reading a lot lately.
Yeah.
Like, if anything I love about this pandemic is I've been reading a lot. I've already read like the first I'm like reading Dead Zone right now. I've read like the first 8 Stephen King books.
Nice.
During this pandemic. I'm also reading Marvel stuff. I'm rereading Fables also right now. So yeah, I'm all over the place.
All sounds great.
It's awesome. Have you read Frank Herbert's Dune?
Yeah, it's been a little while, but I'm definitely pumped for the new movie.
I definitely need to check out the Lynch film before I see the new one. So The World to Come. This is the first of 2 reviews for tonight, and I was very interested in reviewing this film because mainly the cast. It's got a very strong main cast, and just some background. It takes place sometime in the 19th century in the East Coast frontier land. Basically tells the story of 2 couples, 4 people who are just utterly miserable. Catherine Waterston's character is married to Casey Affleck's character. They're both farmers. They own some land, and or they're renting this house. They get a new couple in the neighborhood who are basically doing the same thing as they are, also renting, kind of just living off the land a bit. And just at the beginning of the film, we see how utterly depressed these people are. And you would think it is a very bleak film, but it's also a very beautiful film too, because the location that they shot in a national park in Romania. And this like countryside location is just perfect for this story. Along the way, Catherine Waterston's character engages in a lesbian affair with Vanessa Kirby's character, and it's not like softcore porn. It's actually very tender, and it works. It's very sweet. It actually kind of reminded me of a recent film from last year, Ammonite, with Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan, which I think is a better film, which is very similar to this,
Yeah.
If you want to see a better lesbian love affair movie set in the 1800s, then I would go for Ammonite, Not the World to Come. But having said that, I really did enjoy this film, and I think it has a lot of merit, especially the location in which they filmed it, and again, the acting was pretty perfect. So yeah, Eric, what did you think of the film?
I don't think I was as positive about it as you. I do think it was a beautiful movie. I think the cast was really good. I think there was just something about it I just couldn't get into it. I think it was one of those things. I'm like, I like the characters, I like this world, I like all this, and so why am I not like engaging with it? And I think what I kind of realized is it's a very poetic movie. You know, it's it wants to keep you feeling depressed a lot, and I feel like because of that, it just never caught me right. And I just could never really put my finger on it. And I think it was just because just on a tonal level, I never figured it out. And I think also because you could tell it was a book.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, you can tone down the voiceovers. You can just show me what's going on. But yeah, so it was okay.
Yeah, and it's actually based on Jim Shepard's story of the same name, The World to Come. So it definitely has this kind of like narrative, like it feels it's literally being narrated.
Yeah, it's like I'm reading this book to you right now, and there's pictures on the screen.
Pretty much.
It looked like he was also one of the screenwriters, right? He adapted it also, from what I saw.
Yeah. Ron Hansen, I think, adapted it. Yeah. From the screenplay was by Ron Hansen, but Jim Shepard wrote the original story.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like a perfect example is in the opening scene where we're getting basically why they're so depressed with the daughter. And it's like, you could have just shown that montage, put some nice music over it. I didn't need her telling me how sad she was at a very sad thing happening to the both of them.
Yeah. It kind of hits you over the head with everything.
And it kind of takes away like the whole purpose of a movie. It's like, I could have just read this book if you weren't going to show me anything and just talk about it.
Yeah.
There was this one scene that really stuck out to me when Catherine Waterston and Vanessa Kirby are sitting on one of their front porches, and it's like the sun is setting, and they're just enjoying their time together. And there were many scenes that were like looking at like a painting, like they were gorgeous and like breathtaking. But I mean, like, as you were saying, Eric and Matthew, like I just wanted the movie to breathe a little bit more. Like, I mean, the narration was a little bit too constraining, I felt at times. But like, I mean, overall, like, I did enjoy, the cinematography very much. The acting was very good.
And I mean, the dialogue, Eric, like you said, it does feel like it's read to us in a way.
Yeah.
It does feel like it's from a book. I know there's a few like lines in this that are like over the top, kind of melodramatic, like I am a library without any books, like stuff like that. Like you could have toned that down a bit, and if they made it sound a little more urgent, a little serious, this movie, I mean, I just the main things, again, the takeaways, the location and the acting. That's really what this movie's about.
Yeah.
Casey Affleck is pretty perfect. He's kind of in the background. You expect him to be a leading man in this, but he's basically in the background. Same with Christopher Abbott, who I first discovered on the HBO show Girls. Yeah. And I was he's made some interesting choices in his career so far. And Vanessa Kirby, I think this is her follow-up to last year's Pieces of a Woman, which was phenomenal. And
I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
She is impressing me time and time again. So yeah. Waterston's character, I wasn't thrilled about. She was kind of a downer. But overall, I say this film is on the radar. It's definitely on the radar.
Yeah, and like again, not to take away from it, I think it's just the problem of just like I said, it never caught on for me. But again, you're right, the cinematography was amazing, and I really enjoyed the actors. And I mean, every time Vanessa Kirby was on screen, you could tell the camera was just like, look at this woman, she's amazing.
Yeah,
and I appreciated the fact that with the Casey Affleck character that they got to the core about that this was a movie about seeking human connection, about these people who just can't connect. And with him, it didn't come out in what I was expecting to be this raw anger and jealousy. And instead, you just saw his depression over the fact that as much as he tried, he couldn't connect with Abigail, with his wife, and how depressed he was at the fact that she could find a connection elsewhere and he was being left out. And I actually appreciated that. Yeah. I thought that was actually probably the highlight for me, as he was coming to the realization of like, and how willing he was to keep her happy by keeping that connection alive.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's a very heartbreaking plot. The progression, or the digression, or if that's a word. It's just like each character is really in a dark place, and it just keeps getting darker and darker. You can see in Casey Affleck's performance that all of this emotion is being suppressed. Every few minutes, every time you see him, he seems more and more like kind of just a shell of a man. And phenomenal work from him, I think. Yeah. And I kind of want to visit the location in Romania now. It's beautiful.
Although the man, I had to put on a coat while I was watching this movie, because I could feel like, I felt like it looked so cold at the beginning.
I was under a blanket.
I felt like the winter was raging inside my apartment while I was at it on.
Yeah. I think we should credit director Mona Fastfold for really like taking us to a really cool, place cinematically, so I commend Mona for that. And this film premiered at the 77th Venice International Film Festival, and it won the Queer Lion Award for Best LGBTQ themed film at the festival. So that's pretty cool. But again, another fine lesbian film. A better film would be Ammonite. If you guys haven't seen that, I highly recommend that. That was really good.
I also read somewhere that apparently the husband of Kirby's character was supposed to originally be Jesse Plemons.
Right, I read that.
Which would have been very interesting to see how that would have changed with Plemons there.
Well, he's been very busy lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very different actors too, in a way.
Yeah, that's why it would have been very interesting to see how that turned. Because I did like Abbott; he was good, but it would have been interesting to see how that progression would have worked with Plemons instead.
Yeah. I've been very interested and fascinated by Plemons' career ever since Breaking Bad. Fantastic actor.
Oh yeah, he's been in so much, and like it's great to watch him, like, because it's like he's really evolved so much, and it's only been like a handful of years.
Yeah.
It's like.
I mean, yeah, it's like I agree. Breaking Bad really was like, oh, well, who is this little neo-Nazi? And and then unfortunately I was late to him as Landry in Friday Night Lights, and I could see why a lot of people loved him from that. And then I mean Game Night, he from that alone, it's just like in his season of Fargo, Plemons is just constantly always doing interesting things.
Yeah. He was also in a movie with Molly Shannon a couple years ago. I think it was called Other People. Other People.
Yeah.
Which was really good, and it kind of fell through the cracks. I recommend that. It's basically a dramedy. It's like a family dramedy, from what I remember, and it's got a great cast. Bradley Whitford's also in it. Yeah. But yeah, after Breaking Bad, I definitely started to take note of his career. He's kind of like he could do comedy and drama and get really.
Well, it's like he even adds a lot of like weird comedic elements to like any drama he's in.
Yeah.
There was a movie this year that he was in where it was just like him and a woman, or the whole cast. I think we did it on the show.
Oh yeah. It's
where it was like driving in the car to like this deserted high school.
He kind of reminds me of Matt Damon.
Well, yeah, they call him not Damon or whatever.
Yeah, but he's like the non-action hero version of Matt Damon. But yeah, The World to Come. Rob, would you recommend this to people?
Yeah. I mean, I thought that it was like pretty good movie and everything like that. I definitely enjoyed it. I watched it with Jen, and she enjoyed it too. We had a lot to talk about as it was running and after. So it's on my radar.
It's a good date night movie for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Eric, it was I'm Thinking of Ending Things was the fucking movie.
We didn't review that, I don't think.
No, we didn't. I was thinking we did, but we didn't.
Okay.
I think I watched it the day we did a review show, but
okay. You recommend that one?
I think I watched it when we did the best of the year. But yeah, like that, like he was so great in that. It was like
he never disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always in fine form. Eric, what were your thoughts? Would you recommend? It's a see it or skip it for you.
I would see it. I like this, even though the story did not get me and engage me. Everyone's right. It's a beautiful movie. It is. It's great for what its setting is. The actors are all just delivering great performances. It's just I wish the story just was more engaging. But I would still say it's worth a shot. It's still worth at least visiting and seeing if you like it.
Well put. And last but not least, Mr. Roren.
I would say for the visuals, the landscape, the cinematography, and the acting, I would say see it. Try not to be tired. I think a part of the problem it didn't really connect with me was that we had a 72-hour window to watch it, and I was like kind of like in the last gasp of trying to watch it right after my kids left. I was exhausted, and I just like was like, I wish I wasn't watching this movie tired. No. Like I kind of like
blanket.
I felt like I slept with my eyes open.
Oh no.
Like for half of it, but it's like I watched it, but it was like so slow in parts that I'm like,
yeah.
Like, did I just fall asleep for an hour? I don't know what's happening, but I don't think it did.
And for that, Matt, I apologize.
I mean, whatever. It is okay. What it is. It's not your fault, but
yeah.
I would say it's definitely like it's visually stunning and some great performances in it. So check it out.
Of course, and definitely on my radar. So yeah, guys, that's The World to Come, and that is now available on video on demand. So check that out. And now, guys, we're just going to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with more movie reviews right after this.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Randy Younger Under the Radar, and we've got one more film to review, and I'm very excited, as you can tell behind me. This is one of the better documentaries I've seen lately. It is called The Last Blockbuster, and it basically tells the story of Blockbuster leading up to the very last store, which is actually located in Bend, Oregon. I believe it's still in operation today. It's insane. Only one left in the world. This documentary, it shines a light on the business, the ups and downs of this business. We've got some really great interviews, testimonials from celebrities who have fond memories of just renting videos in general. I know I'm one. Being a kid of the 90s, I definitely enjoyed every Friday night going to my local video store, picking out something, maybe horror, comedy, action, what have you, and just enjoying that. Just basically for me, it was the thrill of the hunt, just looking and being in a place where you're surrounded wall to wall with movies, and you're like, basically your selection is limitless, and that sense of adventure and fun is always in me. It'll always be in me. And Blockbuster is a part of that for sure. I actually worked there briefly, very briefly. It was like a month. It wasn't a great place to work personally, but to go there and just browse the titles, that's what really caught me. So yeah, The Last Blockbuster, I love this documentary. I can't praise it enough. It was just so informative and fun. Eric, I know you have some stories.
I'm with you. I really enjoyed this because it really captured that nostalgia for me of also a kid who grew up in my city. We had a Mr. Movies that was at first, and then the Blockbuster opened. And I remember that one of the reasons why I ended up getting my driver's license was so I could stop bugging my parents to keep driving me. It's like, well, I want to go to Blockbuster now. And so that was my main incentive, to be able to drive so that I could take myself there. And also I'm sure anyone who had a Blockbuster, they probably had a story of, oh God, it's 11:30. I forgot the tape's due back tonight. Having to drive real quick, like, oh, you throw it into the box. It's like 11:59. Don't want that late fee.
Classic.
But yeah, no, but the documentary itself is what I appreciated is it had a great division. You had the first of the rise of Blockbuster, of how it became at its time, one of the biggest businesses. Like almost every town, city had a Blockbuster, and how it went from there to just completely bottoming out, and how now it went from this, like, one of the biggest companies on the planet to now one little store fighting to survive.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think they did a good job of having that of that. And I think it was a very fascinating journey of the company from that massiveness to now this little family run store, basically.
Yeah. This woman, Sandy Harding, she's literally keeping this place afloat by herself, with her family, her sons, her nephews, nieces, everybody involved. It is a family affair, and it's a very interesting situation that they're in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. This movie was just so fun. It actually reminded me of this docuseries, the movies that made us and the toys that made us, which is basically all about nostalgia, and that's what this documentary instills in me, that sense of nostalgia, which you guys know I'm all about. So Matt, what were your thoughts on this film?
Well, I mean, I liked the documentary itself. Most of the people they interviewed are like, everything since I Love the 80s on VH1 has been like comedians. Like, all you do is interview comedians about the 80s, and you've got like a thing. But which I thought was so funny that Darren Hayes from fucking Savage Garden was interviewed in this, and the guitar player from Smash Mouth, because it was like it could be any random comedian, and I'm like, whatever. Once you have a random musician like that, I'm like, what? But then it was like Darren Hayes, I think, was talking about working at Blockbuster, and I'm like, wait, he worked at a Blockbuster? Like, how is that even possible? But I mean, I thought it was set up really well. I mean, part of my memories of Blockbuster, like, I'm with Lloyd Kaufman 100%, who was my favorite interview in the whole thing, because that guy, fuck Blockbuster. I mean, serious. Like, I was a member of 5 local video stores when I was younger, and they all each had their own like specialty, and I loved going to each one of them, and like whatever. And then when Blockbuster became big and they slowly started disappearing, and then it was like, oh, I can't get weird horror movies here because they don't carry them. I can rent things like American Psycho here, but they are edited because it's run by a Christian coalition. It's like stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, if I want like form-fitting like commercial films, it's a great place.
Yeah.
But they edited the shit out of any R-rated movie. They hacked it up, and and they didn't carry weird stuff. So I was kind of like meh about Blockbuster. It became our only choice. So it was like kind of like I went out of necessity. I actually, the decrease in other mom and pops existing increased my purchasing of physical media. it's actually when I started building my own collections of physical media of videotapes, and then later on DVDs, was because like half the stuff I wanted or was interested in, Blockbuster didn't have. So it's like I was just like old enough where I was in my like jerky artsy phase where I'm like, I only like art films, like, and Blockbuster didn't help me with that. So it's like that aspect, but it's also great because the Blockbuster that still stands is a mom and pop, and it always has been. And they show you that basically Blockbuster came in and threatened, hey, if you don't take our name and give us money, we're gonna shut you down, like some mafioso type shit. And then basically now they're still going and are hoping that Blockbuster lets them keep their name, which is like, I think they'd be better off just dropping Blockbuster and being their own. Like, I like, just Buster Video. Like when he's like, just cover up the block. But it's like one of those things, like they're basically depending on Blockbuster letting them lease the name to be certain. Because even if Blockbuster said no, like, be like, okay, fine, change the name. How many of like text, like what restaurant was it? American Roadside, where like all these American Roadsides popped up at one point, and then like all the franchises basically dropped American Roadside's name, kept all the food, and just had a different name. Like, just do that. Yeah. Like, people already know there's a documentary about your Blockbuster. You can drop that and start your own thing. You'll probably make more money.
But I feel like this is kind of what the documentary goes into. I feel like it's kind of the thing of it's where, this was a snapshot of a time when video stores were the dominant, how you did things. Like, video stores were, I mean, like, anyone who grew up that era has a story. Like, when I started dating my now wife, that was how date nights worked. They describe it in the documentary. I completely, you would go to the video store and I'd have my
hours of
movies, like, we should watch this, and she'd have her piles of movies, and then we'd take like a half hour, like, okay, well, we haven't seen this, well, we got this for 5 nights, we got this for, okay, blah blah blah, and then she would, like, we'd start walking, like, oh, I forgot this came out. Yeah. And so it brings back that nostalgia. And you're right about the whole corporatization of it. And I don't think the one in my town was quite as overbearing in the edits as yours. So I didn't really have that.
It might have been a franchise.
It might have been. So I don't think I had that. I could, if I wanted an R-rated horror movie, it was there unedited. Like, I never had a problem with it. But
it was really interesting finding out about all the franchising and stuff. Mm-hmm. That each one was basically run, like the franchise ones were run as their own thing.
So yeah, I think mine either was more corporate or I didn't have that problem at mine local.
Yeah, like that was it's actually funny. Like I mentioned American Psycho, because the first time I saw it, I rented it from Blockbuster, and like for years I'm still not a fan of the movie. I don't really like it, but there are elements of it I do like, but overall I'm not a huge fan. But seeing it later on, I'm like, wait, like. Mm-hmm. None of this stuff was in when I saw it, and it's like weird.
Yeah.
For a new release movie to be so like manipulated, it's just like.
Well, I actually purchased The History of Violence from a Blockbuster around the time it came out, and it wasn't edited. It was pretty violent.
I mean, I think also maybe by the time like History of Violence came out, like they might have stopped doing a lot of that. Okay. Because it's like, I mean, when was History of Violence was like 2005?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like then the late 90s and like the early 2000s, it was just very like Blockbuster, like Walmart and like
Walmart, yes.
All those things were so into editing and like like how In Utero, like the Nirvana album, had to change the back cover just to be sold in Walmarts.
But what I really miss about the mom and pop stores is that smell.
Oh yeah,
that smell, dusty. It's.
I also it was funny too in the documentary because everyone's like, in Blockbuster you could actually look at the tape and look at it and like whatever, and I'm like, you could do that in every mom and pop I've ever been to.
Nope, not mine. Mr. Movies,
they did that thing. Weird. I'm like, I grew up in such a different time period than everyone else in this movie, because I'm like, yeah, that's like how it was when I it would be like in the case, like you just in the box.
No, mine was different. I had a Mr. Movies. That was my before Blockbuster moved in. That was our smaller. It was a smaller franchise, small mom and pop, and it was always they would keep the cases out there, but
Right.
you had to wait for that guy to run to the back, come out.
Yeah.
And there would be times like, oh, we thought we had this route. We're like, but we really wanted to watch it.
It's like I can't find it.
Were these stores like wall-to-wall VHSs? Like it felt like a claustrophobic.
Yep.
You just walk in and you look deep side and you see like, oh, Mr. Mom, Problem Child 2, what?
Oh yeah, I mean they were like all roughly the size of like that little store when you go into the studio for when we all did your show in person. There's like that little Christianity store in the front of the studio.
Yeah.
Like that was like the size of the video store, and it was like little cubicles of like comedy, horror, pornography.
Yeah.
Like
the beads were it was there that had a curtain, and it absolutely and for a long time it was always what's behind that curtain.
Yeah.
It's
one day I'll find out.
I remember I once reached my arm in and grabbed the first thing I saw. And it was just like motorcycle sluts or something like that. And I was like, oh. I was like,
now it's a shame that the youth of today will probably not experience the mom and pop video store experience. That's just something the four of us will have to just hold it deeply in our hearts and our memories.
Well, that's like, I mean, part of the point of this documentary too is it's sad that they won't even get to experience Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Unless
they go to Oregon.
Even, because it's like, even like, I mean, I work like Tower Records was like the best chain record store that ever existed. And I worked there for a number of years. And it's like, like the fact that there's one in Ireland and like two in Japan, but like they're the same as the Blockbuster. They're just like leasing the name. And it's like one of those things where it's like, it's such a shame because it's like, you like even like it's like now it's like you can find some CDs and stuff at like FYE or like you can find records in a comic book store where you're like what it's like having a store devoted to one thing is great.
And Matt, that's what your store is going to be all about, right?
Right now I'm a random whatchamacallit store, so pickles, music, movies.
That's heaven.
I'm there.
Comics.
Matt is an entrepreneur of sorts. Okay, guys, well that is The Last Blockbuster. It is now streaming on Netflix, and if you are a movie buff like we are, I highly recommend you check that out. It's so good. It's just a fun look at the company, and it's the life of a cinephile.
I do have a question. Did anyone else kind of feel goosebumps when they were doing the closing of the box again? Because it's just like, I missed that. I have that tactile feel of when you would clamp them shut.
I have a couple of those cases, and I from time to time just open and shut them because it's just a fun thing to do.
It is.
I remember, and it's funny when I forget who it was. Maybe Brian Posehn was talking about like the plastic on them, how like
always.
I'm like I used to love just picking at it because it'd always be like kind of ripped and you just pick at it like
it's always like warped and kind of
always frayed.
Like
that's awesome. All right, guys, well I think it's unanimous. I think we're all fans of this movie, of this doc.
Great doc.
It was really good. And like I said, it's if you want to know the history of the company and just all that stuff, it does a great job laying that all.
I love the interviews with the guy who like ran it or whatever when they're like, oh, like you could have bought Netflix. It's like, yeah, it could have happened. Whatever. I just like, what?
I think, and I too think I still have one or two Blockbuster cards in my possession somewhere.
I was looking for mine. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's there. It exists. It's somewhere. But maybe I'll have to go to Oregon in the near future. We'll see.
It would be fun to visit.
Update my memory.
I was reading.
I couldn't believe that like she like goes to Target and like Walmart in the morning on new release day. Like I'm like, there are much better ways of doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it was a couple of years ago, but like there are better ways of doing this.
Yeah. Rob, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I was reading that she was actually opening up the store as like an Airbnb, like last summer and everything like that, just like renting it out, like making it into like a living room, and like there was like a VHS player I saw in a picture.
Yeah, I was happy to hear that COVID that they were doing that stuff to keep alive, and that would be kind of fun to like do a rent it out and have like a movie night at the Last Blockbuster.
Absolutely.
That would be so cool. And to just, I'd love to see the Russell Crowe memorabilia. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I actually had a dream. I got to tell you guys, like it was maybe like 2 years ago that I was in. It was like a museum, but like it was also a Blockbuster, and they had like like really like high like stacks of VHS tapes and stuff like that. And watching this documentary really reminded me of that dream, because it's like a testament to a time period that we all know and love very much. Like, and I mean, there were parts of it that were like genuinely making me very sad. Like, I mean, I love just going and looking around and just talking to people about it, like, but yeah, I mean, there's still a couple places like that, that like I could find, like Mr. Cheapo. Like, I don't know if you guys have been there on the island.
I was just there this morning and this afternoon. So.
Nice.
Mr. Cheapo?
Yeah.
That record store. I've been going there since they only sold vinyl back in the 80s. So
there's a store in Comac, and I know there's another one in
Mineola.
County. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's on Jericho Turnpike in Mineola. Yeah, I was at the one in Comac. So.
Nice. Yeah, I went in there a number of years ago, and the owner there, I think his name is Stan, if I'm not mistaken, Stu.
Yeah.
He was asking me, he's like, "What's a guy like you doing in a place like this, like getting DVDs? When you probably find them somewhere cheaper or just stream them." And I mean, I had like a stack like this, like, and I was like, I just like coming to places like this, just looking around and like talking to people, like, I mean, I said the same thing, like, and anyway, yeah.
It's always, because I always buy like the Yogi section where it's like the cheap CDs where it's like 8 for $2, and like I've been in that section like most of my life, and he'd always, and I worked at Tower Records at the time, and he'd be like, "What do you do with all these CDs?" I'm like, "They're part of my collection." I'm like, "I don't know why you keep asking." Like I love music. I'm like, "This is my collection," like, and like he'd always be like, "But what are you doing with them?" I'm like, "I listen to them," and like, and he's like.
Aside from Best Buy, I think the last place I got movies were used DVDs at a 7-Eleven.
Wow.
They exist.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes they got good ones. I just
never know.
I got Cat's Eye on Blu-ray for $4 at a 7-Eleven. So
nice. I just wanted to read off some coming attractions this week. We've got a sci-fi adventure thriller called Voyagers, starring Colin Farrell and Ty Sheridan. We've got a war drama romance called Mafi, a romance called As Luck Would Have It, and it stars Joanna Garcia Swisher, who was actually on Are You Afraid of the Dark? We just did a show on that very recently. Wow. And lastly, Virus Shark is the title. It's a horror movie, and I'll read off the synopsis real quick. The world is ravaged by a new virus, SHVID1, spread by a shark bite. At the bottom of the ocean, a group of scientists are racing against the clock to find a cure. So, sort of like our current predicament, but with a shark.
Is this a Sharknado spinoff?
I don't think it's related.
Well, everything's got sharks in it now.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's like in the vein of Sharknado. It's like in that same quote unquote universe.
Zombie sharks.
Anyone fun in it?
No one notable is in it. I wish.
Anyone like non-notable?
Like
people that like were for like Antonio Sabato Jr.
Fernando Lamas. I don't know.
Lorenzo Lamas.
Yeah. No, sadly no. But that's what's coming out this week. Not a great selection, but the Colin Farrell sci-fi movie Voyagers, it looks promising.
Looks trippy.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even see the trailer. Did you? Or
I did. It looks like kind of like Lord of the Flies in space.
I love it already. That's cool. Plugs. What do we got going on? What do we want to mention? Rob, is there anything going on you want to mention?
Actually, other Terminator news. Apparently, there's going to be a Netflix anime series. Not sure. I don't know too much about it, but very exciting. Yeah.
Whoa, a Terminator in anime? Okay.
I mean, I just saw that it, might be in the works and stuff like that. So it's very exciting.
Cool. Yeah. Rob is our resident Terminator expert. He's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, it's just so much nostalgia there. I can't help it.
We'll have to do a commentary for the first Terminator. Yeah, we did T2 last summer. It was a lot of fun. That movie never gets old. And
we're gonna do Salvation.
Salvation. Okay. You know what? I think Salvation's one of the better sequels, honestly.
Oh, that's surprising. You don't usually hear too many people talk good things about Salvation.
No, Genesis and Dark Fate for me were just really letdowns. Eric, any plugs since last week?
No, not really much going on my end of things. Just kind of keeping going and doing day by day.
I like that. Simple. All right, cool. And Mr. Roren, how's the store coming along?
We're good. Just putting junk in shelves and stuff, and just waiting till we're ready. Probably in a week or whatever we'll be open. I don't know. I'll let everyone know when we are.
Sounds
yeah.
Cool.
You want to come buy some VHS tapes and some DVDs and CDs and whatnot. And pickles.
It's all about pickles. I love it. I love
it. Crazy.
Can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. Are you gonna sell like fried pickles in different varieties?
Oh no, basically since COVID, no one's been able to really do anything besides the pre-pack. So all the pre-pack options, but he pickles, there's all kinds of different kinds of pickles, from your full sour to your half sour, your kosher dills, and your and then like honey mustard and all that stuff, and like there's all different kinds of pickles. You'd be surprised how many kinds there are. And then there's also pickled other things like pickled olives and pickled whatevers. So
cool, man. And
all kinds of pickled stuff.
Yeah. And what's on the Cult Cafe this week?
It is so funny that right now I am drawing an absolute blank as to what I scheduled for this week. What did I schedule for this week? 1985. OC and Stiggs, Robert Altman film. It was basically Robert Altman in 1985 was asked to make a film like Porky's. And he was like, I fucking hate movies like that. So he made his version of a teen comedy, and it's this movie OC and Stiggs.
All right, gonna check that out. Sounds good.
Yes.
All right, guys, and also I want to mention Hunger Ward. It's a documentary about starving children in Yemen. It has actually been nominated for an Oscar for Best Documentary Short Subject. It's also currently in theaters. This film is really powerful. I've been talking about it for a while now, and if you want to get involved, just go look up Hunger Ward, the documentary, online. And then if you go to the official website, you can click the Get Involved button so you can donate to hospitals in the Yemen area. So that's called Hunger Ward. Check that out. Also, we have started Tom Hanks Month, and we started that with The Money Pit, and we'll have a lovely commentary, a Tomentary for you very soon. So check that out. Stay tuned for that. And I think I mentioned that the Last Blockbuster is streaming on Netflix, but yeah, it's that good. I had to say it twice. Yeah, so there's that. And also, if you want to check out new episodes of Under the Radar, just check out Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And that's every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern for new episodes of the show. Also, just, subscribe on YouTube and spread the word, because we just want to spread the word regarding quality film. That's all this is about, bringing people and movies together one frame at a time. So yeah, guys, I want to thank you so much for tonight. This is amazing. Rob Harris, it's been forever. Thank you. Eric, it's been a week. Welcome back. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. I do.
Sure. And Mr. Roren, always a pleasure, sir.
It's been 2 days.
Yeah.
And
guys, come on. All right, guys. Well, I'm Randy Younger, and this is Under the Radar, and we'll see you next time. Take care.